unaware of what the map leads to. Family mocks grandson who inherited it. But before we start, smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our upcoming stories. The relationship between Jason and his beloved grandpa was very special to him as a young man. Jason cherished every moment spent with him, and they used to spend a lot of time together. Then one day, Jason received life-changing news. It was at the hospital. His grandfather had sadly passed away, they told him. The loss devastated Jason deeply. There was a part of him that was gone forever, and he couldn't bear to think he would never be able to see his grandpa again. In comparison to his other siblings, his grandfather had always been a bit closer to him. It wasn't until he discovered the will and inheritance that came with it that he changed his mind. It was time for the family to divide up the possessions of his grandpa after the funeral. The only thing Jason expected was something special to remember his grandpa by. As he knew his grandpa did not have many valuable possessions, he did not want to cause his family any arguments or conflicts. Jason, however, was surprised to find an old, hand-drawn map from his grandpa when it was his turn to pick. Jason and his grandfather used to explore a nearby forest together on the map. Jason was delighted to have something that reminded him of those happy times in that special place. Jason's map was not a valuable possession, but it meant the world to him. No one was able to appreciate his grandpa's gift quite as much as he did. Jason vowed to treasure the map for the rest of his life as a way to keep his grandpa's memory alive. Jason was initially disappointed. In his opinion, it was just a piece of old paper drawn by his grandpa when he was a child. It was then that he remembered what his grandpa had told him. As grandpa's favorite grandson, he was given stories he didn't share with others. There may be something special hidden in this map that only he knows about. In order to find out where the map led him, Jason decided to follow it. In spite of the fact that it took him years to find out what his grandpa left him, he was determined to find out. In his travels, he crossed forests, mountains, and rivers across the country. His goal was closer with each step he took. Jason finally found what he had been searching for so long. Although he was looking at a property, it wasn't everything. His life was about to change forever due to the riches within. As a teenager, Jason White faced many challenges. Like most kids his age, he was unable to receive the care and support of his parents due to unforeseen circumstances. During those challenging years, his grandfather provided him with guidance and love by taking him under his care. It was through perseverance and learning valuable life lessons that Jason was able to become the person he is today, despite the challenges he faced. The tragedy that changed Jason's life forever happened when he was 14 years old. As a result of losing both of his parents, he felt a profound sense of loss and grief. As Jason's legal guardian, his grandfather took care of him. Although he faced immense challenges, Jason persevered and made the most of what he had. Abraham was an exceptional grandfather who always went out of his way to take care of his grandchildren. Despite the fact that his siblings lived independently, Abraham made it his life's mission to help all of them. But taking care of Jason meant that he grew much closer to them than anyone else. His bond with him was truly unbreakable, and it was a relationship that both cherished immensely. However, as life is unpredictable, things would eventually change, and their relationship would be put to the test. Now, at an advanced age, Jason knew that he had to repay the favor and reverse the roles. Jason stayed with his grandfather in his home and started to look after him. Abraham had always lived a simple life with very few possessions and minimal expenses. Despite his limited resources, he always managed to make ends meet and never complained about his circumstances. However, he was determined to teach his son Jason how to be financially savvy and responsible. Abraham imparted his knowledge and wisdom to Jason, teaching him how to budget, save, and invest wisely. As Jason grew older, he became more independent and started to take care of his father. He made sure that Abraham had everything he needed and looked after him with love and care. As time passed, Jason couldn't help but notice the gradual decline in his grandfather Abraham's health. Every week seemed to take a little more out of Abraham, leaving him weaker and more frail. Eventually, Abraham passed away peacefully in his sleep, leaving Jason heartbroken and feeling as though a piece of him was missing. Though he knew that death was a natural part of life, he couldn't help but feel that there were so many things that his grandfather never got the chance to tell him. As Jason grieved, he promised himself that he would always remember the things that Abraham had taught him. But there were certain things that had never been said. His grandfather had hidden a few things from his family that he thought should never see the light of day. Jason made sure to arrange the entire funeral for his grandfather. They gave him a proper send-off, and now just had to settle his estate. Jason and his siblings convened at his grandpa's residence to share the remaining possessions. Jason had been looking forward to receiving something special to remember his grandpa by, but he was aware that his grandpa did not have many valuable possessions. He didn't want to be the reason for any conflicts or disagreements within the family, especially during this already difficult and trying time. Therefore, he decided to remain quiet and let his siblings divide up the possessions as they saw fit. The atmosphere was solemn and heavy, as everyone was still mourning the loss of a beloved member of their family. But there was one stipulation in the will. Abraham wanted Jason to have an old hand-drawn map. It was somewhere in his grandfather's house, he just had to find it. His siblings each got half of the value of his house after it was sold. He was perplexed. Why did he get an old map? Finally, after rummaging through the attic, he found the hand-drawn map that his grandfather had left to him. The map depicted a dense forest area that was located nearby, and which Jason and his grandfather used to explore together when he was younger. The forest held a special place in both their hearts, and Jason was overjoyed to have found something that reminded him of those happy times. The map was an intricate work of art, carefully drawn with an almost calligraphic style. It showed the various paths, streams, and landmarks that they would encounter on their way to the hidden parts of the forest. His siblings even mocked him for getting so little, but they had no idea that it was so much more than that. Jason's eyes were filled with wonder as he traced the lines with his fingertips. At first, he thought it was just something born from a hobby, but as he looked closer, he realized that there was something more to everything. Although the map was not considered valuable in terms of money or material possessions, it held an enormous sentimental value for Jason. Jason felt that this map was his sole link to his grandfather's memory and the stories he had shared with him as a child. The map was like a treasure hunt for him, and he was convinced that it held the key to an important family secret that only he could unravel. He knew that by holding onto the map, he was keeping his grandfather's legacy alive and preserving a part of his family history. Jason promised himself that he would find out what his grandfather was trying to tell him. Then he realized that there was something more to the map. Could this map be the key to something special that only Jason and his grandpa knew about? For years, Jason had been determined to follow the map his grandpa left for him. He traveled across the vast expanse of the country, crossing dense forests, scaling treacherous mountains, and wading through rushing rivers in search of the treasures that awaited him. But he just couldn't figure out what his grandfather had hidden in the map. He knew he had to find someone who could help him. Despite numerous obstacles along the way, he pressed on, driven by the promise of unimaginable riches. Finally, after years of searching and countless struggles, he finally found someone that could decipher the map for him. He headed for the location, but what he found was his grandfather's biggest secret. It was a stunning sight that he had never seen before, and he was amazed by the beauty of it. He couldn't believe it was there all along, hidden from the entire family. As he looked around, it became clear that this was the true family fortune that Grandpa had left for him. The mansion was filled with treasures that his grandpa had collected over the years. There were paintings, sculptures, and rare artifacts from around the world. Jason couldn't believe his luck. He had found something that no one else in his family had even dreamed of. He sat down and thought about his grandpa and all the stories he had told him. He knew that his grandpa had wanted him to have this, and he felt grateful for the love and attention his grandpa had shown him throughout his life. From that day on, Jason made it his mission to restore the old mansion and make it a home that his grandfather would be proud of. He eventually became the proud owner of the mansion and all the treasures that lay inside. He knew that his grandpa was watching over him, and he was grateful for the adventures that the old hand-drawn map had led him on. But there was one more surprise waiting for him. One day, while Jason was clearing out the basement, he stumbled upon an old safe that was half hidden inside the wall. After trying 100 times, he eventually managed to guess the combination his birthday. Jason opened the safe, but he couldn't believe what was inside. There were dozens of documents detailing his grandfather's life, which explained why he had a mansion hidden away. But it also had a huge amount of savings inside. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another unbelievable tale like this one.